You will spend your entire life trying to grow into the person you want to become. Yet most of what holds you back will come from one place you rarely look: into yourself. Every dream you gave up on, every habit you couldn't change, every time you said, "I'll start tomorrow," wasn't blocked by the world outside. It was held back by an invisible force within you. But the moment you learn how this inner force works, your life changes direction. You stop sabotaging your own progress. You unlock self-trust, emotional intelligence, and a version of yourself you've never been able to access. This is the promise of The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. In this video, you'll discover the hidden mechanism behind your self-sabotage and how to transform it into growth. Act 1. The mountain inside you. Every day you feel it, that quiet heaviness you never talk about. So you scroll, you distract yourself, you whisper to your mind, "Just 5 more minutes." Because there's something you should do today. A conversation you keep avoiding, like telling your partner you're not happy anymore. A decision you don't want to face, like quitting a job where you feel invisible. A step you know would change everything, like finally launching the project you've talked about for years. You think about doing it, but just imagining it twists your stomach, so you push it to later. But later comes, and this tiny invisible habit slowly becomes the biggest mountain in your life. The mountain blocking your life isn't the world. The mountain is inside you. It's built from the needs you never learned to meet, the emotions you avoided, and the fears shaped by your past. This is self-sabotage, and it's the reason we fail to reach our potential. Most people think self-sabotage means laziness or lack of discipline. In reality, it exists because your subconscious believes it's protecting you, not from success, but from change, which it interprets as danger. Carl Jung explained that your unconscious mind will do anything to keep you inside what feels familiar, even if that familiar place is miserable. This creates an invisible conflict between two versions of you: the part of you that wants to grow and the part of you that wants to stay safe. That tension is what creates the mountain inside you. Just like real mountains form from pressure beneath the earth, your internal mountain forms from the emotional pressure you've been carrying for years. But self-sabotage rarely looks dramatic in everyday life. It feels comforting, like staying wrapped inside your comfort zone. It shows up as perfectionism. You don't start because you can't stand the idea of being imperfect. Avoidance. You avoid the conversation or task, convincing yourself it's not the right time. Overthinking. You replay every scenario until you convince yourself not to try. Constant restarting. New jobs or relationships not for adventure, but to escape the truth you're scared to face. And pride. You stay stuck because changing would mean admitting you need help. In real life, sabotage looks like leaving a job application open, but never clicking submit, or staying in a relationship that drains you because the unknown feels more frightening than unhappiness. Every time you avoid something that matters, a part of you quietly shrinks. Piece by piece, you lose self-trust, opportunities, and confidence. The worst part? The more you sabotage, the more you believe you're the kind of person who can't change. But those aren't who you are. They're symptoms of needs and fears you haven't uncovered yet. Everything begins with honesty. Writing creates distance. It pulls the fear out of your head and puts it on the page. The shapeless fear becomes a form you can finally work with. Act 2. The hidden cycle that shapes your life. Before we take our first step upward, we need a map of what's holding the mountain up. Every internal mountain is supported by a repeating psychological loop, a pattern so familiar you mistake it for your personality. Underneath hesitation or procrastination is the same root mechanism rebuilding your problems again and again. You know what you don't want, but have no idea what you do want. You try to impress people who don't value you. You care more about looking happy than being happy. Inside, nothing changes. This loop follows a pattern:
A core emotional need or fear goes unmet, so your subconscious creates a protective behavior to keep you safe. That behavior sabotages your progress, which reinforces your old identity and strengthens the original fear. If you stay stuck, you're not weak. You're just protecting yourself from emotions you never learned to face, like feeling unworthy or unsafe. Your mind creates protective behaviors that carry messages you're meant to decode. Overwork might escape loneliness. Overspending might be a way to feel briefly alive. Beneath these are unconscious commitments, emotional contracts to safety, control, or familiarity. To expose the loop, ask what situations trigger the strongest frustration or what problems keep repeating. Once you see the cycle, your emotions stop feeling random. They become signals.
Act 3. Your emotional signals. Imagine holding everything together, but being triggered by one small mistake. You feel overwhelmed and then ashamed for feeling that way. Most of us learn to silence our emotions instead of listening to them. But silence doesn't make them disappear. They grow and start shouting as anxiety, regret, or confusion. Take anger. It often shows up when a boundary has been crossed. Sadness when something meaningful has been lost. Guilt when a value was violated. And shame when actions misalign with your self-image. To decode them, you must learn the difference between intuition, which feels calm and clear, and emotional reactions rooted in past wounds, which create stress and urgency. Instead of fighting behaviors, ask what the emotion is trying to tell you. Real self-care is meeting actual needs: enough sleep, supportive relationships, and feeling emotionally safe. When your needs are met, self-sabotage loses its power. Act 4. Build emotional strength. You decide to change, but then everything inside you pushes back with a quiet panic. This is biological. Your brain is wired for safety, homeostasis, not growth. Brianna Wiest calls this adjustment shock, the uncomfortable period between the old you and the new you. These aren't signs you're failing, they're signs your brain is reorganizing. Growth feels chaotic because your system is losing familiarity. To manage this, use micro-revolutions. Instead of quitting everything overnight, take small, predictable steps like walking for 5 minutes or saving $5. Small steps build momentum. Separate your actions from your emotions. Your fear is valid, but it isn't a command. You must act before you feel ready, because action comes first and motivation follows. Choose growth over comfort. Your greatest fears are often the key to your greatest growth. Act 5. Break free from the past. Society pushes you to move on before you've processed anything. You force positivity, but your past self doesn't disappear. It shows up in reactions you can't explain. Letting go begins with looking back. Revisit the younger version of yourself and speak to them with compassion. This closes the wound. Healing grows when you release impossible standards, drop identities built for survival, and question inherited expectations. Letting go isn't losing who you are, it's releasing who you pretended to be so you can become who you actually are. Act 6. Building the future you actually want. You can't build a different future with the mindset that shaped your past. Visualization, supported by neuroscience, gives your brain a new reference point. Since your brain cannot move toward a future it cannot imagine, you must teach it. Start making decisions based on who you could become. Ask, what habits will my future self no longer accept? Real shift happens when you start acting as that future self today. Wiest suggests 5 practices. Ask what your best self would do. Be honest about weaknesses. Be prepared not to be liked. Act intentionally, and commit to inner work. Support this new identity with 4 pillars. Stop outsourcing your emotions, self-validation. Choose principles over inspiration. Recognize that purpose evolves, and let your emotions guide you. Act 7. Self-mastery. One barrier remains. You don't trust yourself enough to lead your own life. Self-mastery is learning to lead your emotions, mind, and behavior. It begins by interrupting the automatic loop. Acknowledge the emotion without judgment, then choose an intentional response rather than a panic-driven one. Self-trust grows each time you choose a wise response over an old impulse. Inner peace is built through daily mental strength, staying humble, asking for help, making plans to reduce chaos, and taking responsibility for your choices. From here, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What strength is this shaping in me?" Your life becomes meaningful because you keep choosing growth over fear. This is the moment you step into the person you were always meant to become.